And for those of you that are new, I will tell you, we record all of these, different speakers typically every day bringing different content, and we record all of them. If you go to the Larsen Life Group YouTube channel, they are all there on the replay under a playlist, High Challenge, High Accountability. So go to that and you can see everything we have done and everything that we are yet to do will be posted there. But I want to have a conversation today about what your goals are dependent on. There's one thing your goals are dependent on, guys. One thing. And that is, there's going to be 4 keywords to this. A consistent or the consistent execution of a good plan. Your goals are going to be dependent on the consistent execution of a good plan. There are 4 important words in that piece: consistent, execution, good, plan. Some of y'all are like, I don't even have a plan. See, you can't consistently execute a plan that doesn't exist. So you've got to start with a plan, a business plan, a rhythm, a routine, a thing in your mind that says, if I do these things, I'm going to get where I want to go. You got to have a plan that says, when I go into the office, I'm not surprised by what I'm doing that day. I have never once walked into my office and said, wonder what I'm going to do today. I don't really know. I've never once walked into my office and just wondered what I was going to do. I had a plan. It starts by having a plan. Okay? As you have a plan, you work with a mentor, you work with people you trust, you gather massive action, constant correction, and what happens? You start revising your plan with data until you have a good plan. See, you can have a plan and know what you're doing going to the office. It might not be a good plan. I know some people, they're brand new and they come in and they think they know more than me. And I laugh at it only because I was that guy when I came here the first time before I quit. Jacob Pogue was like, here's a really good plan that's been proven. And I'm like, yeah, I hear that, except I'm not going to dial anybody. I'm going to hire 3 call centers instead. That was not a good plan. That plan cost me a lot of money and it didn't work. All right. So it's not just enough to have a plan. You need to have a good plan. So recognize that that's going to be the crux of it. Now, once you've put that together, see, I don't think that's really the problem for most people. New people coming in, maybe. New people coming in, they may not trust mentorship. They may not trust the system. They may put things on a short leash. They may have prior experience that makes them think that they might know better. So for new people, yes, developing a good plan might be the key that you got to look at to grow your business. But for those of us that have been here a while, it ain't having a good plan. What is it? The consistent execution of that good plan. And you want to know the number one factor that determines your ability to consistently execute this plan? Your emotional stability followed by your emotional regulation. These are the things. Those emotional stability and regulation are the keys to your ability to execute a good plan. So once you have a good plan, if your business, and hear me clearly, what is your business? When I say your business, what am I talking about? I am talking about the vehicle that gets you to your goals, your dreams, your legacy, the things you want for your family. So if all of that packaged up, the legacy and life you dream of is dependent on your consistent execution, wouldn't it be important to have mastered the number one factor that affects your ability to get there? Which is emotional stability and regulation. Now, what's emotion? Before I got into sales, I was a cardiac surgery ICU nurse. I loved to deep dive into cellular function, into the function of the body. When we're talking about emotion, we're talking about neurochemical and electrical signals in the body triggered by a stimulus. Something happens And then our body reacts to that something, release signals that will release or suppress hormones, and these hormones will create a physical response in our bodies. This is what we're talking about, and we know these responses by their emotional names: happy, sad, excited, angry, scared, anxious. We know these responses, these neurochemical electrical responses, by their emotive name, by how they make us feel. And how we feel affects how we show up, affects our ability to execute consistently a plan. If you're scared, if you're sad, if you're depressed, if you're anxious, you're going to show up to that plan differently than if you're happy, excited. It's a very, very different vibe in how you show up. You walk into that office and you're going to go to work for your legacy and your dreams. You're going to go to work. You're going to go execute the plan. But what's going to determine your ability to show up in the best way to execute that is going to be how you feel, which is going to be driven by a lot of things outside of your control. So you don't control your feelings. You regulate them. You manage them. You stabilize them. You've got to sometimes manage that stimuli. So you're going to recognize that there are certain things that are going to trigger emotions in certain ways. And your job becomes managing that stimuli effectively. What does managing that stimuli mean? Well, it means if you know for a fact that getting on Facebook and arguing politics with your brother-in-law gets you really mad, maybe don't do that before you're going to work. I don't know what to tell you. Like, maybe just stop doing that. If you know that's gonna trigger you, if you know that's gonna elicit a negative emotion and reaction, maybe stop doing that. Maybe take ownership of your emotion, because the elementary level is going to say, he made me do this. He made me. They made me. It made me. Circumstances made me react this way. No, you chose to react that way. You want to know what wisdom does? Wisdom creates boundaries. Wisdom creates boundaries. I need to protect this. I need to protect my mind. I need to protect my spirit. I need to protect the way I show up. And in order to protect that, I need to create boundaries at times and in places and with certain stimuli to keep that out, to protect my reaction. Sometimes it looks like just saying no. No, I'm not going to do that. No, I don't have space for that. No, that's going to distract me. Looks like getting clarity. So you want to know something that's funny to me? I look at a lot of people, and if, again, your goals, your dreams, your business, if all this is tied up in the consistent execution of a good plan, I talk to a lot of people that feel stuck. Put a 1 in the comments if you feel stuck. Your business just isn't growing. It's not growing the way you want. And you know it's just the consistent execution of a good plan. Now, here's what I see, and this content is going to be brought to you by 2 of us that I got to speak with this week. I'm going to name drop here for the fun of it. Miss Emily Bart and Miss Marcy Cruz. I got to speak with both of them this week, and both of them came to me with stuck feelings, wanting to know, what do I do to break the stuck? Tell me what to do. They're focused on give me the good plan. And the good plan is almost never the problem. In both of their cases, it was not that they didn't know what to do. It was they had an emotional barricade that blocked their execution of that plan that they interpreted as not knowing. Can I translate that for you? So often it looks like you're scared. You're scared. It isn't that you don't know what to do, it's that you're scared to do it. It isn't that you don't know you need to dial more. You're scared because to dial more means you need more leads, which means you need to spend more money, which means you're going to come up against loss aversion, which means you're scared. It isn't that you don't know what to do. You think you don't know what to do, but what you're really facing is an emotional barricade to the execution of what you actually know to do. This is never about you not knowing what to do. The person that's in their first 3 weeks of business, they get stuck not knowing what to do. After that, the rest of us deal with the emotion of execution. That is what is holding you back. You are scared, you are sad, you are depressed, you are insecure, you are dealing with the emotional barricade that is preventing you from doing the very thing you know to do. So Emily calls me and she's just like, tell me exactly what I need to do. I said, Emily, you know I can't do that because I don't know what you need to do. But here's what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you to become the person you're proud of. I'm going to tell you to focus on being the person you know to be. And as you press into that person, what to do becomes really clear. See, Emily, I want you to focus on becoming a woman of courage, a woman of conviction, a woman of clarity. When you become that woman, all of a sudden, the what to do becomes really, really clear because it was never that you were stuck not knowing what to do. You just had a lot of emotional baggage preventing you from doing it. Some of that emotional baggage looks like worrying about other people's emotional reaction to your activity. I'm going to give you guys something here. Some of y'all need to hear this. You are not responsible for their emotional reaction to your independent activity. Let me say that again. You are not responsible for their emotional reaction to your independent activity. You're going to get caught up with, I know my good plan, but what are they going to think if I attend this huddle instead of this one? Who cares? If that's your plan, go execute it. But what if I want to go do this instead of this? Then go do it. You're not responsible for their reaction. Christina Watts, one of the things she has told me over and over that she loves about me is how simple I make this. The human dynamic is simple to me. I am going to go boldly do what I know to do, and you're going to react, and you're free to react, and you're allowed to react. You can react however you want to, and none of that is my responsibility. I am responsible to my goals. I am responsible to the future version of myself. I am responsible to my family. I am responsible to who I am called to be and what I am called to create. I am responsible to those things. I am not responsible to an insecure person's emotional reaction because their ego got hurt because I chose to do something else other than what they wanted me to do. Why do we make this so hard? It is not that hard. I stopped doing this not because I wanted to hurt your ego. You had nothing to do with it. In fact, you only think you had something to do with it because of your ego, which is the problem, which is the reason you're reacting that way, which has nothing to do with me. I'm choosing this because this is my good plan that I'm executing, and I am responsible to that. Now, I'm going to speak to leaders for a second. As a leader, your responsibility is to help calm the emotional storm your people face. If you recognize as a leader that the biggest obstacle to the consistent execution of a good plan is going to be the emotional barricades your people are going to feel, then your biggest responsibility is to be a voice of calm and clarity to help them live to their highest form self, their truest form self, call them back to their goals, call them back to their responsibilities, and not to your ego. I don't take attendance on my huddles to look at me. You weren't on my call. It's never been about my call. It's never been about attendance on my call. That's an irrelevant factor. I don't care where my people get fed. I care that they get fed. And so I recognize I need to be the voice of calm and clarity, not the voice of chaos. If my phone call outgoing to my agent makes them feel anxious, afraid that they're judged, that they're in trouble, if my call makes them feel that way and elicits that reaction because I've become that stimulus to them, I am not leading them well. I have become a barricade and an obstacle that they are obligated to create boundaries around instead of allowing in, because I am now the stimulus that is robbing them of their greatest ability. I want my call and my text to be the one they want to answer, because I am always going to be the voice of calm and clarity, pointing them to stability, pointing them to their future, pointing them to their ability, pointing them to their wisdom, quieting the noise, quieting the chaos. That is my voice. Now you're going to ask me, but Jim, when do you challenge people and just tell them what they need to know? When they ask you to. I don't know why that's so hard either. So many leaders are like, I know what this person's doing wrong, and I'm going to pick up the phone and I'm going to tell them, you want to know what's wrong with your business now? What's wrong with your business is you ain't doing this. Well, one, they didn't ask. Two, how many of y'all love unsolicited advice? How many of you love when someone comes into your business, your life, your situation, tells you what you need to do in your situation without asking that person's opinion? Does that ever go over well for you? Have you ever once had someone jump into your business with unsolicited advice and walked away going, yeah, I'm really glad they inserted themselves in this situation. I was drowning by myself, and this person showed up out of nowhere and just manhandled me. And now I feel great about them, us, our relationship, and I've got clarity moving forward. That has never happened. So make it easy. Ask permission. Wait to be asked. When your people are banging their head against a brick wall, ask them how they feel about that. Hey, it looks like you've been stuck in the same place for a while. How do you feel like that's going for you? Are you frustrated with that? Or are you still hopeful? Just ask them questions. And when they invite you as a leader, when they invite you to offer advice, you now have an open door. And if you've done well as a leader to be a voice of clarity, if you've done well as a leader to be a voice that calms the chaos, that constantly points them back to what matters, their future, their legacy, their goals. If you've been that voice, you earn the trust to be invited into the execution of the strategy. But when you offer unsolicited advice, when you become a voice that adds to their chaos, you become a leader that they need to create boundaries around. And that's not going to be a healthy environment. I went deep on y'all today. I hope it resonated. I hope there was something you guys were able to take out of this. I know some people are like, I don't want to talk about emotion. Just tell me what to do. I'm like, that's cute. You're operating at like level 1. You come on this call, we're dropping to level 10, man. I don't know what to tell you. Guys have feelings too. even if we don't like to admit it. All right. That's what I got for you guys today. I'm going to stop the recording here.